Live now.
Welcome to the Node.js Foundation Core Technical Committee meeting for March 29th, 2017. And we always start with a stand-up, and today will be no different. So is Anna here?
Hi. So nothing out of the ordinary, mostly issues and PR review, and in particular the reviewing the API stable native module layer. And next is Bradley.
Just started the C++ port of the ES module loader. I am informally starting onboarding for Guy Bedford from System.js to help out with loader hooks. I think the next is Nikita.
Yes, nothing worth mentioning from me. And next is Colin.
Nothing notable, issues and pull requests. Next is Evan.
Nothing of note for me. Next is Francisco.
I cleaned up a bunch of old pull requests. Next is Jeremiah.
I got the pull request updated, or rather a new pull request in for premise defaults, errors for unhandled rejections on GC and stuff. I will post a link to that. It is about as controversial as you would expect. So if you have feelings about whether we should do this or not, please let me know, because there's actually not quite as many comments as maybe I would expect. I don't know. Next is James.
Landing PR is getting ready for 8.0.0. Releasing around, doing tests, running a bunch of tests. That's basically it for me. I don't have the list in front of me, so I'm not sure who's next.
That would be me. A little bit involvement in the discussions around the disk speed so we can get Sigim running, participating in the NAPI review work on the other end, and then just the general miscellaneous review comment lands. And I will put out the call again. If you are going to get involved and jump into the review for NAPI, it'd be great if you did that sooner than later. Otherwise, Brian White is next.
Okay, so I finished up the next set of file FS module optimizations just actually last night, and so I got that PR out there. I updated some open PRs that I had out there, and let me see. Just other than that, I think it was just mostly the reviewing PRs and commenting on issues as normal. Next is Ali.
Yeah, I was at a company offsite, so I haven't done much, and I'm on the phone, so I don't know who's next.
I think that's me. Nothing too much on the V8 side, except we're working on turning on turbofan and ignition in V8 5.9. Next up is Michael.
Yes, nothing of note. Next is Trevor.
Using hooks, PR. Rich.
Nothing of note, lots of little things. Let's talk about buffers. But before we talk about buffers, did we miss anybody? Doesn't look like it. Cool. Okay, and then let's review last meeting. There were two items. One was the buffer thing, which we're going to talk about again today. And the other one was the adding support for ABI stable module API. We sent that back to GitHub, I think. We made a decision. Does anybody remember?
I think last time it was just up for awareness and saying, the PR was there, please jump in and review. So I expect that was the conclusion, is just go back, please comment on the PR there.
Cool, and I see it has comments as recently as 18 hours ago, so that is the system working hopefully or something. But excellent. Okay, anything anybody wants to add to the agenda before we proceed with talking about the future direction of the buffer constructor? All right, so yes, many long threads about buffer constructor. So I'm going to go ahead and frame the issue unless somebody else wants to.
Pardon? What was that? We can't.
I think we lost you there for a sec.
Okay. I just said that I'm going to go ahead and frame the issue unless somebody else wants to take it. I am looking at. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm confused. So. Many tabs. Here we go. Great. So there does seem to be consensus, although it's not unanimous, but consensus that we should do something, that we can't just do nothing. And it looked like one of the things that had sufficient support and not significant opposition was the opt-in deprecate flag that James put together a PR for, but now there does seem to be some mild opposition or questioning. So I don't know if that's the place to start. Another possible place to start is having the discussion about whether or not we are going to announce an intention to runtime deprecate the buffer constructor at a specific version in the future, because a lot of people's support or opposition to other actions depends on whether or not that is included. And I think that that's probably one of the bigger sticking points. And I guess there's a lot to talk about. But I guess those are kind of the two things I was hoping to hammer out today. Does anybody have anything they want to add to that?
I would say that there's three distinct votes that we need to have. First is, do we commit to a runtime deprecation of or any variation of the buffer constructor that's not required by uint8 array? And do we commit to that at a particular time frame? So either yes, we are going to do it by 9 or 10, or no, we are never going to do that. That's question one. Question two would be, based on the result of that, do we put in the pending deprecation for it, which is the conditional deprecation for my the one PR that I have. Question three is, do we random fill or zero fill by default? And kind of a sub bullet point to that is about backporting. So multiple decision points.
And each one of those three. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Each one depends on the other. So I think we definitely need to start with the question of, are we going to commit to deprecating buffer constructor or no?
And I know in the definitely yes we should do that, or at least I think in the definitely yes we should do that camp, we have we certainly have Nikita and I think Brian too. I'm not sure though.
Let's let everybody kind of weigh in.
Yeah, and then we actually and then I definitely want to hear from people who are like, no, we can never do this, which I'm sure we will. So I'll stop talking now. But Somebody take it away. Committing to a deprecation in a future version.
I mean, we can do it. It's just gonna come back to bite us. I don't really want to deal with that.
The ecosystem is ecosystem in general, based on all the feedback I received from module developers, pretty unanimous towards don't do it. Don't deprecate.
Well, if they have that kind of a response, then what is like their suggestion as to how they would deal with the security issue and whatnot? And what do they envision?
If they fill by default, that they would be willing to take the performance hit on zero fill, especially considering we have the buffer Alloc safe as an option that allows them to get the performance if they need it. And majority of the folks that I talked to also didn't even think that we should even backport it. Just do it and 8 and forward, and they would deal with it.
Would it help to just take a straw poll right now about, I guess we have that buffer options private spreadsheet that we all filled out, but take a straw poll on, because there's deprecate in there, but that I think meant deprecate like this version. But I don't think there's anything in there about, oh, there is schedule, yeah. So, yeah, that's tough. That's like a near 50-50 split. It's not a 50-50 split, but it's awfully close. With a lot of people expressing no opinion.
So are you tallying the spreadsheet?
I was referring to the spreadsheet.
I think the spreadsheet was from before the option of additional flag was put forth. I don't know if people have the same opinion. If there's an extra flag for the runtime for the deprecation warning as James put together.
So there's the opt-in deprecate, which is like the second thing that on James's list of 3 things to talk about. But there's also a column for just scheduling a deprecation at this time, just saying we're going to deprecate in version 9 or version 10 or version 11 or whatever. And there's a significant number of people who feel we should never deprecate, and there's a significant number of people who feel that we absolutely must deprecate at some point.
Yeah, at this point, I think it's pretty obvious that we're not going to reach a natural consensus, and we're not going to find a solution that makes everyone happy. We need to find a compromise solution, and basically call for the vote. Our rules say simple majority wins.
Yeah, I think I would second the call for a vote at this time. I don't know that there's really much more to talk about.
What are we actually voting on then? Like, is this like multiple choice sort of thing or what?
No. Do we want to schedule a runtime deprecation in some future version?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yes or no? Like, is that something we want to do or something we do not want to do?
Okay, if it's helpful, I can type a specific proposal into the chat here in UberConf.
For example, we can do that if When the ecosystem usage lowers down, we should hopefully would.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch what you just said, Nikita.
I said that we could do that when the ecosystem usage will lower down. We should hopefully would if we use the option flag.
I think that's doubtful at this point.
Just typing the proposal. 1 second.
And I guess the proposal is about, do we want to schedule one at this time? Well, anyway, I'm going to stop splitting hairs. I'm just going to let this happen.
You mean the hard schedule or just saying that we will deprecate it in some future version?
Oh, I see. So we could. So we could also, instead of saying that we intend to deprecate in a specific version, we could simply just leave it at we intend to deprecate. Is that what you mean?
Let's split those questions. Let's say, if we are we going to commit to a deprecation in the future? Yes or no? If yes, okay, how do we set that date? That's a separate question. Let's handle it separately.
I mean, my question is, when do you set the date? Not how, but when do you say it? The date.
I think this proposal assumes we're going to set a date now, and then if this proposal passes, then that's what we'll do. If this proposal fails, then we can have another vote on a proposal about just saying we're going to do it at some point, but we're not setting a date right now.
Okay.
Or this proposal can just say, are we going to commit to doing this, to deprecating, and leave the question of when and how to a separate question.
So what exactly are we voting for now?
So James, this proposal, which one is this? Is this we're committing to deprecating, we just don't know when right now, or we may or may not know when right now?
Yes, at a specific point in the future could mean when, at a particular release version, or it could mean when usage drops below a certain point. This proposal is not clarifying how we determine what that specific point in the future is. It just says we're committing to deprecating it at some point in the future. Definitely. Or not.
Thanks.
Where do you want us to vote on that then?
So Michael's got to record it in the docs. So I don't know, maybe it makes sense to just type your name. Type your vote in the sidebar chat, or actually no, fill it in the Google Doc. Actually, probably makes the most sense.
Where is this? I don't see it. Oh.
The minutes doc. The minutes doc is what you meant, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So how exactly do we vote there?
I just created a yes line, a no line, and an abstain line, and just type your name on the line.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so far we've got 4 for committing to deprecating at this time. And 7 for not committing to deprecating this time, and 1 abstain.
So wait a minute. I'm now confused about the proposal because James, we're talking. Your proposal here is that we commit to deprecating at some point in the future, and we may not decide what that point is for many months. Is that correct, or am I misunderstanding?
That's it. I mean, how we set that specific point in the future is a separate question, and there's no proposal on the table for that yet. It's just, are we going to commit to deprecating it at a specific point in the future?
Okay, so should we? So basically, this could be read as should we deprecate at all?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm
Or
not
more
sure about that
precisely.
because if we're not committing to deprecating, like we could at some point commit to deprecating.
Right. It's more precisely, are we willing to commit at this time? And
Yeah,
a no says.
I'm not going to say that we might not deprecate this like 2, 3, however many years from now. Like
this proposal doesn't
might
say
be a good
anything
idea at
about
that
what.
time.
Are we going to announce now that this is going to be deprecated, runtime deprecated at some future point?
Yes,
Right.
that's what I said. Yeah, so we announce now that we're going to deprecate this at some point. And whether or not we say what that some point is right now or later is a separate question.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many people do we need to get pass?
You need 11 votes, but abstentions bring that number down. So since I abstained now, it's you need 10 votes. 10 votes.
So we're still not there.
I think there's a couple people that haven't voted yet.
James, I altered the doc a bit. Is that correct?
Reading.
Seems right to me.
Yeah, me too.
I would say possibly without defining that time right now.
It looks like
so,
this.
What this is telling me right now, since we don't have everybody, we need to take the vote to GitHub, give the other CTC members who are not on the call a chance to weigh in. What I propose is that we give them 48 hours to do so.
James.
Yep.
So is this saying we will deprecate at some point in the future, and we may deprecate the entire thing, or we may deprecate only the non-Uint 8 array?
This says that right now, as of today, we are not committing to deprecating the buffer constructor at all, or we are saying that we will deprecate it in the future.
I think that the question was
for all
about
combinations except those required. For all combinations except those that required by Uint 8 array. So it's just it's a statement at a point in time. We may come back and revisit this a month from now or a year from now.
Well, like,
say,
I don't
okay,
want to say, yes, I'm okay with deprecating if that means that in the future we're going to be deprecating the entire thing, period. I'd be okay saying we're going to deprecate if we're going to deprecate all non-Uint 8 array.
It's specifically all non-Uint 8 array.
Okay.
It's called out in what's written there, right? So this is deprecating all combinations of buffer constructor that are not specifically required by subclassing Uint 8 array.
So, and to be absolutely clear, a yes vote here says, as of today, we're going to announce we will deprecate. Okay. No vote says we are not going to announce that today. We might decide to do it again later at some other point in the future, but we're not committing to it today.
Either way, we're going to be talking about buffers for a long time.
Yep.
That's a given.
And we're not done with it today. So so it looks like this is gonna have to go back to GitHub or private email or something, but GitHub's probably better. But we'll try to get that squared away in the next, as soon as possible. I hope it doesn't.
No. There is a second vote.
Right.
The second vote is very specifically, do we do a conditional or pending deprecation warning for my PR or buffer? This is in all respects a normal runtime deprecation warning that is only printed if the pending deprecations flag is used. We can choose to add this independently of whether we ever choose to do a full regular unconditional runtime deprecation, which is the first question, right? The intent here is to give somebody like running in CI or a test environment could use to catch these easier, but not make it noisy for ordinary users. The argument has been no one's ever going to use it, which is, essentially a valid argument. We also have other solutions like linting and there's other social engineering approaches we can take.
And if we do add that, that would be a general flag, which is, people could use for other pending deprecation type things, right?
Yes. The PR introduces the general mechanism and specifically the thing for buffer. Now, we could choose to land pending deprecation anyway and just not do the one for buffer. That's a separate question.
Was there any discussion of making this like a warning as opposed to deprecation specific? Like, I think we'd like to tell people don't use this, right?
Yeah, we could make it just a regular warning. This particular vote is specifically about whether we make it a deprecation warning. I can go back and change that to be just a regular warning.
Yeah, I mean, it's like yeah. But those warnings, there's already a way to opt into warnings?
Yes, but this particular one we might want to treat a little special because there is a performance impact.
Right.
So I'm not really sure that it matters if this is a deprecation warning or not, because the crux of the thing is, does your node print some sort of, I'm getting feedback, but some sort of notice, essentially, or warning when you use the flag and buffer constructor is used. So whether that is a quote-unquote deprecation or if it just prints don't use this, does that really matter? I mean, I don't think so, but maybe it really does.
I was just exploring whether making it more general made it any more palatable to people. But let's not get sidetracked if that's doesn't resonate with anybody.
It makes sense to enable that for something that is already docs deprecated, but not for everything that is docs deprecated. For example, we could use it in cases where we are going to runtime deprecate something soon, or in cases where the ecosystem usage is just too large for runtime deprecation, like for the buffer thing, or in some other cases when you just want to make the deprecation more visible, but don't want to turn it on by default.
I'm actually, I mean, it's my PR, but I'm actually torn on it. I see the need to be able to tell people, but at the same time, I do agree that very few people will actually use it, actually use the flag.
Probably right that we're going to use it, but we don't know until we try it. And my support for this is around the idea that we have to, you know, there are no good options, and we have to do something. And I'm definitely not in favor of it doesn't matter. You know, we have to do something, and there are no great options. Let's at least try this, you know, and see what happens. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think I agree. And what's the downside if, you know, okay, nobody uses it, but have we really harmed anything in that case? So I don't see much of a downside, so it is worth trying.
Well, there is a definite performance impact. There is a non-zero performance impact by adding that in there. And the reason has to do with this workaround for fast buffer in the fast buffer constructor. Basically, it has an additional case that has to be looked at, so that if the constructor is called directly, then the warning is printed. But if it happens to be through called through like map or filter or I'm not sure what the other one's from uint data array, it doesn't show it. And it requires this kind of a hack workaround. The performance impact of that is definitely non-zero.
Right. You mean if there is an impact even if we don't enable the flag?
Yes.
Yeah.
But could you make a different constructor based on the fact that the flag is set or not? Keep the current one if the flag is off?
I think that will work, and I think you should do that. Yeah.
So I think my opinion on performance specifically is that if you really want to get max performance out, I mean, you should probably be ahead of the game anyways, and you should just use like you need to be then careful and just use alloc on safe. Like if you really want to squeeze every inch of performance out.
Actually, we don't have to discuss. We don't have to discuss performance any further, because I think the suggestion from Michael is pretty good. There shouldn't be a performance impact.
Yes, there should be a workaround for performance impact here if just the new code is enabled only when the flag is passed.
All right, I will see what I can do to minimize the performance impact. I have to make sure that there's no there are no other side effects in terms of. I wouldn't want to end up having a Semver major style change between whether the flag is on or off. You know, I don't want to see any kind of behavioral differences with buffer. There shouldn't be, but I haven't actually played with that variant yet. So let me prove it. Let me let me make sure it works, and then I'll update the PR accordingly. All right, how are we doing on this? 1, 2, 7. We have 2 abstains. I think that brings us where we need 9 yes votes in order for it to pass. For 1, 2, 3, 7 of them right now. Colin, Evan, and Brian, do you guys want to say anything here? Is the no votes?
I feel like a lot of the ecosystem has been asking us to not do this. If there's going to be like a performance impact, like that's kind of what, from what I've gathered on the issue tracker anyways.
So I'm against having a flag to have deprecations on and like two different styles of deprecations in the code base. It just doesn't make sense. We should either print all deprecations or don't print any of them.
There are some deprecations. For example, the domain deprecation that doesn't make sense to actually print stuff on that.
All right. It looks like we're not going to get enough votes on this call, so let's take it to GitHub, get additional CTC members to vote, give it 48 hours.
So I don't want. You said 48 hours on the other one too. I want to point out that there's no such thing as a time limit on votes. We have to get.
I'm proposing a time limit so we can time bound it.
Violates our governance, but we'll talk about that after the meeting.
By a time limit, do you mean to count everyone who has not voted by that time as abstain vote, or something other?
There's no process for this in our but let's move on.
Yeah, I think at this point we have to get enough votes to go one way or the other. We can't just assign them.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So the third vote. And this is there's a part A and a part B to this. Part A is, do we switch to automatically fill buffer num and new buffer num? Part B is that a zero fill or random fill?
And then, of course, to backport or not to backport.
Yeah, and that's, well, let's make that vote for. Separate those
I
conversations.
think that the Google Doc is having it wrong right now.
Wait,
The
okay.
parts A and B.
So this would be zero fill from 8.0 on. We'll do a vote for backporting that.
Before we do a vote for backporting, is there anyone, you don't need to explain right now, we can get into that when we get into it, but is there anyone that would actually object to backporting?
I have a question about the vote.
I would say based on feedback I've received from module developers, there are quite a few who would prefer us just not to backport it.
Not to, okay, I'm very surprised.
Well, I could see the argument that, if you do it in 8 and there's a performance hit, you can upgrade. It's a major, you should upgrade to the new APIs. Once you backport, it now means that you're telling people they have to do work back in earlier releases as well.
What's the part A of the vote? I think that I heard something other than what is written in the Google Doc right now.
I'm going to restructure this in the Google Doc just a slight bit. Instead of doing the A, B, yes, no, and abstain, I'm going to put it as zero, random, and neither.
Yeah, looks good.
Abstain. Okay.
James, how much of a difference is there between the zero and random fill in terms of performance?
It's not significant depending on how
No.
we do it.
Okay.
My current PR does the allocate and then a separate fill, which is slower. It does it all in JavaScript because it's a fewer number of code changes. But
Okay.
if we do the random fill with the mem set right after allocation, and the performances and difference is negligible.
Okay. Because yeah, I just seen that there's some comment about 50%. So.
But just switching to filling by default, whether it's zero or random, is a significant performance hit. But there's no difference between the two choices.
Just for
Okay.
the future note, my current vote depends on the vote 1, which I see is not likely to pass. This is why I'm voting neither here.
Furthermore, it's possible for someone in this particular vote to vote for both zero fill and random fill if someone is, or is that right?
Yes. Voting for both would count as a vote in favor of automatically filling, and then we would separate those to zero fill, random fill, once we decide on the first part.
This one is really hard for me. I can't even decide if I want to abstain.
Looking at the votes, though, I think we have to say yes for filling by default.
Yeah, I don't think we quite have enough. We need 2 more.
Not do we need? Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Abstain. Pull it down. Yeah. Okay.
But it's awfully close to passing.
Hey, did we need we need there's 13 if you add zero and random together, right?
Let's
Yeah,
see.
but some of those are voting in.
Oh yeah, double counted. Sorry, I forgot that part. Are there?
For those of you that have voted in both, we'll need some indication of which is your first choice, which is your second.
I think I don't think random fill is gonna.
That will be needed only for both passes.
Wouldn't that only be applicable if those actually got the same number of total votes for each? Like if there's no contest, then there's no contest.
Yeah, I think at this point it's pretty clear. We just have to make sure we have enough votes to be able to call it.
All right. It looks like everybody but me, I think, has finally weighed in, and I'm gonna weigh in later on GitHub or something because my vote's not gonna tip it one way or the other at this point.
Okay. And then there is the fourth issue of if we choose to fill, do we backport it? We would backport this to 7, 6, and 4, maybe 5. But we're not doing any releases on 5, so that doesn't really matter. If we did backport to 7, it would just be until June.
By backportion, do you mean backportion to all versions? I mean to all branches, or just
Yeah, all the
to the
release
previous
branches.
branch? Oh,
To all release branches. So it would land in 4x, 6x, 7x.
because
Go out
my
and
opinion differs.
and it would be some minor in each.
Go on, Shocker.
Okay. I just want to say that I might have different opinion for backportion just to 6 or to both of them.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask if anyone had opinions about if there was specific branches we should or shouldn't push it to.
Backport all or no?
Yeah, I would say I'd say that we should definitely break it up. It might make sense to backport it to 7 and 6 only. Might make sense just to backport it to 7. So we should break up the questions. Backport, yes or no? And do we backport to all release branches? Or just pull them all out to 7, 6, 4, 7, 6, 7, or whatever combination.
I don't think that this made it better for me because I'm against backporting it to version just to version 7 or to version 7 and 6, but I think that I will abstain on backporting it for version 7, 6, and 4.
So should we separate it out into separate votes for each release line?
Yes.
So we'd want like a 7, a 6, and a 4, like that.
No, I meant something other.
Yeah, no, you want the only if it's all of them, right?
I think that I will abstain only if it's all of them, and I'm pretty much against backporting it to a subset of the releases. To be clear, my opinion is that sorry, some sort of echo. To be clear, my opinion is that a partial backport is worse than not backporting at all, or then backporting to all the branches.
I'm not actually sure I'd agree. I would prefer to just see it backport to at least some, even if we really aren't going to do all. But I think we should just backport to all of them. The new APIs are already in the things. If anyone really wants to squeeze every last inch of performance out, they should just use alloc unsafe anyway. Or if they're not, I guess, initializing an empty buffer, just buffer it up from.
Okay, so it's looking like, again, this one needs to go back to GitHub to collect the rest of the votes.
Okay.
You cut off there.
I guess I was just saying we're already over time, but do we want to move on to the next issue on the agenda, which was related but different?
Yeah, I think we can.
Okay, do we know who added this one to the agenda?
Wait, isn't there only one agenda item?
Looks like it was Rich.
Well, the next one was 9531, which was discuss future of buffer constructor API. It seems related, but was listed separately.
I think it's all tied up in the same issue.
I'm gonna say, isn't this what we just finished discussing pretty much?
Haven't we just discussed that?
Anna, is there anything that we missed?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah. Okay.
At least for now. I mean, there's going to be other conversations based on the outcome of this later on. Things like the ES6 class conversation and those kinds of things. So, but those are, I think the outcome of those depend on the outcome of these votes.
Yeah, I think closing on this first one makes sense and then moving on. I guess next thing is if there's any question and answer on the stream.
Can someone go over the meeting times?
Sure. So the upcoming meetings, you can always check the Foundation calendar, which is in the link. But the Collaborator Summit is upcoming May 4th, 5th. So if you can, try and see if you can make that. There's a CTC meeting, which is marked as March 30th tomorrow. I guess, sorry, I misread. That's the call. There's a call with the V8 team, which is tomorrow. That's in about 12 hours from now. And then finally next week, there's the CTC meeting. And I believe there's, next week, there's the CTC meeting April 5th at the regular time.
Okay, so someone asked, are questions only related to current CTC? So is the questions that can be asked? I said that general node related questions could be asked, but if they wanted help requests, they should put that in the help repo. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to clarify or if there is much to clarify. Someone else asks, which database ORM would you suggest for SQL database? I would say that this question is probably better for somewhere else, but I don't know if that is the help repo or Stack Overflow or what anyone else would suggest.
Yeah, I'd probably say, you know, and at least asking on help. If somebody's specifically looking for which ORM is best used with Node, then the help repo would probably be better. You know, there's lots of different opinions. JavaScript developers are definitely enjoy having their different opinions. So.
Yeah. Those are the only two questions I got there. Other than a comment that says the person with Cherry MX Blue key switches should mute or move to MX Browns. I don't know. Someone has a noisy keyboard, but I don't know who it is. I think multiple of us do, probably.
I'll admit mine's noisy.
All right. I think that's everything. I think we can call it.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.